Hey guys, welcome to my creative series. This one's called the Project Zomboid Architect. If you're new to the series, a quick synopsis is that it's basically my creative series on Project Zomboid, where I go into the game's map editor and also work with custom tile sets and just try to make anything that I can imagine for the game, all in the hopes that I can create my own custom city in the end, codenamed Asherville, though the name's still kind of being decided upon, and I'm still open to suggestions, building ideas, and it's pretty open to the community, which is one of my favorite parts about it. I worked on 6 buildings this week, along with a number of tile sets, the first of which was an industrial waste plant, or the semblance of it, boardwalk stalls with shops, a really sleazy car dealership, as suggested by my patron Luca, a fake graveyard, a church that's secretly a cult place. I'll try not to put so many secrets in the ultimate map, and a dump. It seemed like fun to just make a bunch of eclectic stuff, and by the time a few weeks are over, I'll probably have it all together into some semblance of order, so I think it's fine for right now, but I'm laying out everything. The first building that you're seeing right here is the sleazy car dealership, so you probably figured that by this point, though there's no cars because I don't get those in the building editor. It was inspired, as you may have seen in one of the earlier images, by the car dealer from Matilda. I didn't realize that this was in my head, but as I was streaming it, this is all just VODs time-lapsed from my Twitch streams, which feel free to join me if you check the link below. There's my Twitch, and half of the ideas, I shit you not, half the ideas from all these buildings come from viewers. So, I mean, I'll start off with the basic idea and the organization, but my viewers are often responsible for, suggesting a lot of the details and give a lot of the buildings their flavor and character, or just provide another set of eyes to help me, figure out the composition of the building. Which ultimately I think helps a lot and means that it's not all happening in my head. Anyway, it's a start. As I explained, this is pretty much just my creative series where I run amok with the building editor. And let me see, I do have a couple things I want to talk about today. So right now we're seeing buildings. I'm going to switch over to custom tile sets in a second because I spent a lot of time on those this week. And I did actually manage to import some into the game and get them into my buildings. I haven't tried them out on a map yet, but it shouldn't be too hard from this point forward. I guess the first thing that I wanted to do was just say thank you to my patrons from the last couple of weeks. As long as the PZ devs are okay with this, I ran it by them a while back, and so far so good. Everything seems okay. And if anything ever comes up, please let me know because I'd be happy to switch something out. But yeah, I did some buildings. I finally managed to get in one patron building after a long time. One of my patrons, Luca, suggested a car dealership, so I just kind of ran wild with that idea and made a very sleazy looking one. I can make a nicer one later on, and I did some names in graffiti. What you're actually seeing right now is I wanted to make one of those really, really oversaturated orange hazard fences because it wasn't in the tile set to begin with. And generally speaking, when I make tile sets, they tend to look too saturated. So I figured, why not start with an item in the world that looks fairly oversaturated already to begin with? That way, if I make a mistake, I err on the side of oversaturated and it looks pretty much like it belongs there anyway. So the program I'm actually working in here is a pixel art editor, and I just pulled up like random stuff that I found on the internet, just pictures of these hazard fences, trying to get a good reference. I do sometimes work with those now, and it's proved very helpful. But what I'm doing a lot of the time for basic shapes to start is just kind of tracing over the original PZ tile set. So I'll, import the sprites and just go right over those. I have run into a few areas where I'm confused though, and I'm trying to work on more templates to help myself a little bit. But it's proved helpful. Just short of going into Blender and actually creating all the models in 3D and then photographing them and then bringing them in here, I think that this is easier for certain simple objects like fences and things that have very basic forms like cylinders, boxes, cubes. So that's kind of where I'm starting in creating my own basic tile sets. And it was suggested to me, I went in here and I chatted with some of the other people in the modding community, and they actually helped me make my fences look more like they belong in the game. So this is with a friend named Throttle Kitty, who actually came out with a really, really helpful isometric 3D tool this week. You should totally check it out. I'll put a link below. But yeah, some of this is one reference picture that he gave to me, and it was just super duper helpful. Once again, if you're really interested in modding or anything, just send me a message. I'm really, really responsive these days, so I'll try to get back to you right away. Let me see. So custom tile sets, I worked a lot on those. And this is eventually going to transition into Graffiti, which proved to be really, really easy to do. It turns out you can pretty much just use a free font. There's tons of totally free fonts online that look like Graffiti, for whatever use you want. And you could just use some of those. And I decided to put a couple patron names in those. And using what I know about typography in Photoshop, now it's actually really easy and I can pump out a bunch in like an hour. So I'm going to have to think of more stuff that I can do for patrons because I got through all my ideas for several weeks within a day here. Let me see. So I worked on a lot of the buildings this week and, I did a couple other isometric tasks. So what you're seeing here is actually me going in and I used some of Atox Warrior's tile sets, or his templates. And there's actually a really easy way to sketch out your idea in isometric because it tends to be kind of jarring to work in isometric, at least for me, with no experience in it. So I have to, trial and error test a lot of these things. But I did manage to really, really quickly mock up a couple patron names and just get them into Graffiti. And I was pretty much copying off of what they had done with the original. What was I going to say? With the original, Graffiti that has the developers' names on it. Which I think was kind of cool because I can kind of see how they work and then just try to, make my workflow more or less the same. But they came out like this. I tried a few different color schemes on some of them. I was just running them by this week, but mostly everybody seemed to be okay with it. So Graffiti, templates. Oh, and then the next thing that I did, I started trying to work with simple shapes. So just short of going into Blender, which I do plan to try this week again, using Throttle Kitty's help, I decided to just try sketching out a few basic shapes in orthographic perspective. So the first one here is, what is this? I was making the Bacta tanks from Star Wars, where people float around in when they're being healed, after they got brutally injured in Star Wars. I figured there should be something like that for all the scientific horror that I want to create. So I tried creating a tube like that. It proved a little bit more difficult than I thought it would. It's pretty simple though, and I was just taking colors from the base tile set. So, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to improve my workflow because it's a very simple task, and I feel like I'm not using all the tools available to me. Yeah, I do kind of go over it here, but still, I'm learning pixel art as we go through the weeks too. That's another goal of mine. Just been making tons of other channel art while I'm on it. Yeah, finally I did manage to get something translucent, so it looks fairly decent there. But yeah, I just want it to match so precisely and still give it some dimension. I don't want it to look two-dimensional. But I kind of obsess over all these little things, and I think you need to obsess over them if you want to get it right. Because I've seen some tile sets done half right, and they look out of place. I don't know. They don't look like they fit in the game, and I really want to make something special that looks like it fits. Ideally, if any of the developers are watching this, I'd really be interested in how you created these tile sets because I've stared at them for a really long time and I'm just interested in how they were created. I'm trying to match the color scheme here, so I'm working with hue, saturation, and lightness. I don't know, this is probably terribly uninteresting to some people and just come to see the building, so if you don't want to, just skip ahead a little bit. So let me see. Anyway, I went back to buildings. And I've been taking a lot of ideas. So one came up because we were working on a boardwalk and somebody said you should make a gun attic. There should be guns in the attic. And I was like, oh, that's cool. There's no secret areas in Project Zomboid. Or there are secret areas. That's not true. But there's no secret attics as far as I know of, unless if I haven't discovered those secrets. So, well, I said, okay, well, what if that gun attic was in the top of a cult church? So I started sketching out some ideas, and I eventually decided to just create a big church, and it really came out too big. But it all turned into this massive, terrifying Resident Evil 4 cathedral church. But I had to go through so many iterations of this building only because it was so massively oversized when I first did it. You're seeing right now. I do go back day to day in the stream, and I try to fix up my work from the previous days. So it's not always the most fun, but we have a good time. And you do learn. You learn a lot about the tile set if you come to these. At least I think. My viewers can kind of give feedback on that though. So I guess while I'm working on the church, I'll just describe a few of the things. So as long as the developers are still okay with this, and I mean, I'm open to trying new things if they're not, and I'm perfectly happy with that. But basically, if you do want to support me as I create these maps and buildings, yeah, you can. I have a Patreon. I just opened it up, and thanks to everybody else who's supported me. And I'm still working through some of the benefits, but I think I'm going to be able to, fortunately, get through some of the ones I've described a little bit more quickly. Basically, you get access to the building files I'm creating. Of course, I'll be putting it out as a custom map when it's ultimately finished. But if you want to use them on your own in your creative work, you can, if you do that. Again, I'm putting them out to week to week, and I would like to open this up to the modding community a bit more, so I'm trying to think of alternatives, because I do want to make those TBX files available. Let me see what else. Oh, but yeah, I'll put in a place for patron names in Graffiti, and I'm trying to work on like a secret warehouse that's gonna have like a credits area. As much as possible, I want to try to create a lot of Easter eggs on this map. So the area that I'm working on right now is like a graveyard, but it's not actually a graveyard. It's got like it's got fake graves in it, because underneath it all is like this secret cellar, which I tried to cover up with some hay, just to be a little bit secret to players. I guess anybody who watches my videos will know all the secrets of the map when it's done, but hey, you'll have an advantage if you see it in multiplayer or something. Anyway, I'm still trying to work through basements and how to make those before we have basements in the game. Hopefully someday. Oh, and the other thing I was wondering about was I managed to see that the building editor went up to like 16 plus floors now, which I don't remember if that actually worked before, so I don't know if the building editor is already ready for Louisville, but Louisville supposedly is going to have larger buildings, so I'm really, really excited to see that. Potentially could be making skyscrapers or something like that in the game. Once again, I haven't tried out some of those. Maybe they won't load in, but... Anyway, this one was really, really quick and easy to make. This was the dump, which basically was just a grass square with trash all around it. And this was actually really fun to make. I was surprised that I could just put in any appliance, and it looked perfectly in place. Desks, everything that I ever wanted in there. But this naturally transitioned into the waste processing plant, and I do have up on my schedule on my Discord, which you might have seen earlier in the video. I just flashed it for a second. I put up a big schedule on my Discord because I wanted to be a little bit more transparent about what I'm actually creating every single day of the week. So for this next week, I'm planning to create, let me see. I'm going to start off by doing boardwalk restrooms, then I'm actually going to try a zoo exhibit, museum exhibits, I want to make a dive bar, and then one of my patrons, Andrew, suggested that I make a memorial. So I think I'm going to work on that next. I'm just sort of forcing myself to work on ideas that I pre-planned, because it forces me to get a little bit more of this done, because otherwise each individual building isn't that exciting to create, so I try to just hype myself up as much as possible for it, and then doing it on stream is also a lot more fun. So I mean, kudos to all the map makers who have done this on their own, because it is a long process, making an entire city from scratch. Let me see. So anyway, I did have to work through a few more of these buildings. I brought back some of the space on the church, and now I actually think it looks like a lot more proportional to the map. I did go running around on my map once, so I don't want you to think that I'm making this all in a vacuum and not testing it out. I did test it out, and it was actually a little bit big, so I'm trying to just make it look like it fits with the rest of the map a bit more. But I also want it to have a lot of character as much as possible too, or like its own individual character. So that's a lot of what I wanted to say. I guess I'll just go through as oh yeah, I had to create a whole new tile set for the church, but it did start to look like it made more sense. So, pretty much I wanted to send out an open invitation. Please join me for a stream. It's been a blast. They've been growing a bit, like at a steady rate. They've kind of come down a bit, but you know, that's to be expected. I'm still having a lot of fun with it, and I think that the buildings themselves are getting a lot better. And it's a project that I could see myself staying with for a while, though. I do want to try some more modding things because my attention span tends to be a bit short. And, well, that's why I create buildings just as ever I feel like them. Getting the motivation to create about 50 buildings in a row just takes a lot out of you, so I try to make them just haphazardly as ever I feel like it. And then eventually we'll see which patterns fit together at the end, and we'll kind of group them in similar clusters. But I have a spreadsheet of about 200 to 300. Now it's over 300 ideas now, I think, of different buildings that I could make. It's just too many. I'll have ideas for years. I really could go at this for a long time. Anyway, I went through with more patron names for the graffiti, just because I like to practice my typography in here. I do a lot of thumbnail creation, if you can't tell. So, actually, I think a lot of them came out really good. And if you aren't happy with your name, I'll gladly redo it. Just give me a color scheme. But yeah, the Easter eggs on the map. Oh, so I shout out the Twitch, another shameless plug. Join the Discord, Twitter. I don't know, I am sending out more random memes now, so I think I'm living up on my promise. And actually, there's been a lot of more productive chatter in the Discord, and I've been a lot more active on there. I think I've been enjoying it more too. I'm just really glad to see how many people have taken up the modding spirit in here. Also, I didn't finish off everybody's name that's contributed, so... And just, you know, people who have helped me out a lot over the years, I'm also doing a couple names for them. But I think it would be cool to do like a little special thanks room in the back. Like you find a warehouse back there and there's just a bunch of names on the wall or something, like not really, like not giving out like server space or anything like that, just like an Easter egg in a map you would find. Just to be totally clear on what I'm creating here. It's, the map itself will be open to everybody when I'm done with it. But yeah, you know, I just want there to be like fun little Easter eggs that people discover, you know, that show the creation of the map. Anyway, this is the waste processing plant. I actually looked up diagrams of this thing, and it looked incredibly boring, but I think the exterior came out better than I would have expected. I could have executed it, but I'm getting a little bit better with some of these executions. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb and be annoying here, and for the last song, instead of that peaceful bossa nova, I'm gonna play you one of the tracks that I've been working on. Probably one of the better ones, but definitely not bossa nova by any means. I've been working a lot on music production, so I really hope that you come out and check out that channel. I'm probably just gonna let the track play. Yeah, no, I'll put the link below down for that. And you can just check out the rest of the building. It's mostly just finishing touches on details. But yeah, I would love to have you guys for a little bit of music critique. Any stream time, I think it's growing a lot, and I've been having a lot more fun with it. I gotta figure out some way to kind of differentiate it up a bit, because it does grow a little bit samey, and I can see myself getting a little bit bored with it after a few months, but I'll keep working on different tools and other things to just try to spice it up a little bit. And I'm always open to suggestions if you guys have any. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to say is, it looks like Project Zomboid is getting really, really good traction from the whole new release, and I think they're up for an award for developers who have been active on the game for a really long time. They've been at it for 8 or 9 years now. It's just an incredibly long time they've been working on this game, and before that, if you include before it got, you know, popularized. But yeah, just check out their Twitter. I mean, it looks like they're going through a really good time, so I'm just very happy with them. Very happy for them. They're good people, they really, really deserve it, and keep supporting the game. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you want to support, get the game, make sure that you have the game, and if you want to support me in the content creation, then I'll make your name in graffiti. I'll take your building suggestions and make them from week to week, and the other ones described on there. I'll put a link below for that too, and yeah, always open to other suggestions, other content ideas, and I hope that you try map making, and yeah, hit me up if you ever need help. All right, thanks guys, hope you enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in next week's segment. Bye-bye. So you made it to the end of the video. Good job. If you want to see more videos like this, you can check out the rest of the series. There's 5 other videos in the Project Zomboid Architect series showing similar time-lapse that are also very satisfying if you enjoy the sound of my sultry voice. And if you want to, I don't know, get more ideas. I got a lot of them. All right, thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you guys some other time. All right.